Hi everyone, my name is Charlie, and just as I pressed record, a car alarm started to go off outside, but hopefully it doesn't interfere with anything. It's Monday, it is the start of a new week, a new vlog, and am I reading anything at the moment? Not wholeheartedly invested. I've read a chapter or two of The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Fabers simply because when I came into work on Friday, it was one of the books we had on the shelf here, and I'm not buying any new books, so I thought that I would just read a few pages. And then I got it into my head that, you know, I was going to do this really amazing thing and read a 900-page book over a weekend because I didn't have anything better to do. It didn't happen. I haven't been reading since last we met. Yesterday, I went into a big shop and then bought paint because I'm determined to fix that bathroom. I'm supposed to be fixing my bedroom, but no, the bathroom. It was particularly annoying me over the last few days, so it's going to require so much work. I realised that where my sister painted, the paint is bubbling and cracking, and so I'm going to have to steam a lot of it off and basically just get it all back to nothing and then do it all. Never decorated myself as an adult, so this is going to be interesting since nobody is going to be there to help. The things we put ourselves through. Anyway, I went for it looked somewhat orange, like a subdued orange when we were in the shop, but by the time we got home it looks more like a brown, so I'm pretty confident I'm about to decorate the bathroom exactly how my bedroom's decorated. Otherwise, not much to report. Took Sally for a walk yesterday. I have a light that's blinking behind me, you can probably catch it there, that might irritate you, it's irritating everybody here. Watched Doctor Who and saw one of the most irksome, loathsome characters ever to grace television, and think that the actress who played her did a fantastic job of creating a really horrible character that most of the audience hated. We also finally had an episode of Doctor Who that appealed to right-wing people. Well, conservative people. You know, those people that talk about folks spending too much time on their phones and that sort of thing. Yeah, them. Anyway, not much to report today, but we're here. Hopefully it ain't too busy today, because I skinned my finger here on Saturday when bench ends fell on it. Another volunteer got pummeled by marbles when they fell off a shelf on top of her. Another volunteer had a chair collapse underneath her. We got 3 for 3 here on Saturday, so let's hope we have nothing like that today. I just recorded a very rambly video asking for people to help me because I haven't been reading and it's beginning to get on my last nerve. So I spoke to you on Monday when I was reading The Crimson Petal and the White. Fun fact, I took this book off the shelf to read in my break at work, and I've no idea where it went. I read half a page, put the book down to go and deal with something, and then when I came back I couldn't find it. So I read another chapter. I'm now at page 85. I don't know whether I'm going to be continuing with this because it is such a hefty tome, and I feel like I don't know what I want. So I did go to The Sleeping Beauty by Elizabeth Taylor yesterday, and I read a chapter, but I was also decorating the bathroom, so I only got I got a very short amount of time to read this yesterday with everything else that I was trying to get done. And it's great. It's Elizabeth Taylor, and her prose feels comfortable. I feel like you know what you're going to get with an Elizabeth Taylor book, but I don't think it's time for me to read this book yet. So I'm left in a quandary because I really want to find a good book, but I also know that I don't have any time to read at the moment. That's all people are going to hear about this week, is my want to read and the fact that I don't have the time to do so. But that is where we are. I've just got back from a walk with Sal, and we went around the forest. We didn't see anybody until right at the end of the walk, and unfortunately it was a dog walker, and they'd got a male dog who got very interested in Sally, Black Labrador. I got her on the lead and I was trying to get her away, but this guy just would not leave her alone. Anyway, if you're wondering what colour I painted the bathroom, it's orange, and my brother hates it. It's Friday, and I'm thinking that this just isn't my week. I've arrived to work to find stuff thrown in the bin that we don't throw in the bin, so I gotta go fishing in a skip in a bit, and we're committing some sort of health and safety violation because somebody has left a rather heavy television on top of a load of cardboard boxes. Anyway, since last we spoke, I had Poems and Pints on Wednesday evening, in which I was the host and Antonia Fasaro was the guest poet. It was a really well attended night. We haven't seen so many people in the venue before, so that was great. Part of me thinks that I wasn't necessarily on form as a host as I have been in the past. I think that you generally have this feel like you're connecting and everything's going exceptionally well, and I didn't feel like that on Wednesday. I felt like I'm just here as a placeholder, and it just didn't feel like I was doing my best, and I'm beginning to think that that's just the way that this week has gone. There's been 2 weeks now of a rather maudlin Charlie not being able to read the books, feeling like I'm struggling a bit. So I tried reading Whistling for Elephants by Sandy Toksvig, which was one of the books of my June TBR. I said in my video about how this was the final book that I bought before going on this ban from buying books. I read 100 pages and it was a rather fast read because of how wide the margins were and how big the font was, but so many characters were being introduced and we hadn't yet got to the crux of the story. And I was reading reviews and people were saying that it took half of the book to get there, and I thought, if I'm already zoning out and not enjoying this book, then maybe it's not for me. I think I expected something different. I'm to blame for that. I went into this wanting something similar to Kate Atkinson, which I was reading last year and really enjoying, and that's why I got this book. And whilst there is some wit in there and some humour, Toxford relied on stereotypes and caricature a lot, and I know I've done that in my fiction, but I just didn't like it. That's all I can say. Let's forget trying to examine why I didn't like it. I didn't like it. After 100 pages, I was looking for ways to get out of it and reasons to leave it, and so I just decided, you don't want to read this book. It's come to the shop alongside a few other titles which I'd been considering getting rid of beforehand, and recognised that I'm no longer the reader of those books that I had bought originally, or that they weren't what they said on the tin. Because usually I think that if I'm exceptionally reticent to read a book and it's on my shelf, then I think, well, why am I still holding on to that then? Yeah, this has been a week without reading and struggling to find stuff to read. But I best go, because my manager's got a meeting soon and she might be outside. I don't know, but I can hear a lot of clattering about. It's Saturday, and so I am here just to draw a line under proceedings. I admit that this week has been something of a more miserable week in which I haven't finished reading anything. Indeed, I didn't settle to any book, so I think it was a good example of certain weeks that we have as readers. Sometimes we are really on it and we're wanting to read in every spare moment, and all of the books we read are fantastic books that we want to shout out to the entire world. I had that earlier this year at the time that I read Sheep's Clothing by Celia Dale, and I've had these other books that I wanted to talk about all the time during this last year. So this week has felt somewhat more disappointing when I haven't been able to settle to any book. As I said yesterday, I ended up unhauling Whistling for the Elephants by Sandy Toksvig after I'd started reading it, read 100 pages and didn't like it. And it felt like that was happening a lot this week, that I was picking up books and finding that I was unable to settle to them. And I don't know whether that's because I just haven't felt in the mood for those books, but I did end up bringing a few books to work with me today that I have decided to unhaul unread. Some of them came from well-meaning friends and volunteers who have enjoyed books and passed them on to me. Some of them are books that I actually realised I'd started reading about 4 years ago, and I kept thinking, I'll get back to it, and I never have. Indeed, my bookmark has sat in the book for so long that it's actually left a huge impression in the top of the book from where it's been. So it's definitely been too long with that one. Therefore, I decided that it was best to bring them to the shop, because I was beginning to feel overwhelmed by them, because I didn't want to read them. The idea of them coming up on a TBR, or those books being the only books that I had left to read, filled me with dread, because I think that I just got them when I might have been a different kind of reader. Had I read them at the time in which I got them, in which the excitement was at its fullest, then I probably would have really enjoyed them. But now the idea of reading them doesn't fill me with that same sensation that it did. Others were books that I bought because they sounded within my realm of interests, but then I realised that in a strange twist of events that I preferred reading non-fiction about a specific topic. While I haven't read anything this week, I haven't written anything this week, I didn't even finish decorating the bathroom because of how my time got taken away elsewhere. Hopefully over the next week I am going to read something. I'm going to get some writing done, because I really do want to finish editing and all that with the Alice Valentine. And maybe tomorrow is the day that I just hunker down, finish the second coat of paint in the bathroom, wait a couple of days and get the shelves and everything I want put up in there. Maybe I could do it listening to an audiobook. The only reason I didn't do that was originally when I was first painting the bathroom, I was listening to Kate Bush's album Is It Never Forever, and I got through that, and when that was finished I ended up going, oh my goodness, I can't believe I've been in here painting this long and I've only painted this much. I did consider listening to an audiobook, but the audiobook that I was listening to last was the final book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, written by Owen Colfer. And my goodness, if I don't like the first 2 chapters of that story, it's as though he's just decided to recap everything that's gone on so that he can take the story in a new direction. However, I'm sure I'll listen to it one day. One of my plans this year was to listen to more audiobooks, and we're nearly at the end of June and I haven't listened to one yet. So maybe that's something we do in the second half of the year. Podcasts have really changed how I go about listening to things nowadays. Anyway, that is me. I won't ask you if you've read anything that I have mentioned this week, or maybe I should. Have you read any of the things I've mentioned this week? Because we're Saturday now and I've completely forgotten every single book that I talked about trying to read anyway. It does feel like time got away from me this week. Even today, my brother told me it was 14 minutes to 8 and I leave the house at 8 and I hadn't even finished my breakfast. My cup of tea was still there. I thought, where did that time go? I've been awake for 45 minutes. I can't explain it. Today, time is just moving faster than usual. Anyway, I hope that you got something out of this video, even if it was just to watch a northerner descend into fits of crippling anxiety over not reading, because until next time, that is all.